Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. My name is Justin Bemunyi. Let's begin with the headlines. U.S. President Donald Trump hits the ground running, signs several executive orders to put his administration on stream. Nigeria and Egypt in bilateral move on exchange of technological innovations to ensure food security. And President Tinubu approves funding for smooth takeoff of Category 2 UNESCO International Media and Information Literacy Institute in Nigeria. Well, thank you so much for joining us. My sign language interpreter is Precious Ozemina. Now, President Donald Trump has signed several executive orders, including that of withdrawing the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement for a second time, a defiant rejection of global efforts to combat planetary warming as weather events intensify worldwide. Now, let's have details from Francis Odojo.
US President Donald Trump followed his decision to withdraw US from the Paris Climate Agreement by signing a formal letter to the United Nations notifying the global body of the country's intent to leave the landmark 2015 Accord, which seeks to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions driving climate change.
And the next item, sir, is a letter that will be transmitted to the United Nations explaining that we are withdrawing from the Paris Climate Treaty.
Trump also signed an executive order beginning the process of withdrawing the U.S. from the World Health Organization. It is the second time in less than 5 years that he has ordered the country to withdraw from the organization, despite it being a move many scientists and the European Union fear could roll back decades of gains made in fighting infectious diseases like AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. Experts also warn that the move could weaken the world's defenses against dangerous new outbreaks capable of triggering pandemics.
If we want to be resilient to the global health threats, we need to have a global cooperation in the health area. We see with concerns the announcement to withdraw from the WHO organization by the United States, and we trust that the US administration will consider all this ahead of the formal withdrawal.
The World Health Organization came under intense criticism from Trump during the final year of his first term in 2020 for its poor response to the COVID-19 pandemic, which grew into a worldwide health crisis. A White House statement on Monday night said the U.S. will withdraw due to the organization's mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic that rose out of Wuhan, China. The World Health Organization responded by calling on the U.S. government to reconsider its decision to withdraw, saying in a statement that together they had saved countless lives and protected Americans and all people from health threats. President Trump also signed pardons for some 1,500 participants in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol by his supporters trying to overturn the 2020 election shortly after arriving at the White House.
This is January 6th. These are the hostages, approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
In other news, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Tuesday pledged to fight the changing face of terrorism after a teenager, Axel Rudakubana, 18, admitted the murder of 3 young girls in a stabbing spree that triggered riots last year. Starmer said the killings not treated as terrorism by the judicial authorities were a sign Britain now faces a new threat in form of extreme violence perpetrated by misfits, young men in their bedrooms who were accessing material online.
Is that this case is a sign. Britain now faces a new threat. Terrorism has changed.
BB King, 6, and 2 other children were killed in the attack in the northwestern seaside resort of Southport near Liverpool on July 29, 2024. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
Now, the United Hearts Movement MCU, the ruling party of Central African Republic, has entered into a cooperation agreement with the United Russia Party. The agreement signed remotely symbolizes the growing partnership between Bangui and Moscow. Again, Francis Adojo gives us details.
The political parties are those the President of the Central African Republic, Faustin Archange Touadera, and that of Russian President Vladimir Putin belong to. President Touadera had just returned from a 3-day official visit to Russia when the announcement was made. From Moscow, Andrei Klimov, a senior member of United Russia and a Russian senator under Western sanctions for his support of the Ukraine invasion, represented the Russian side. In Bangui, Simplice Matthew Sarangi served as the Central African representative. Sarangi, who is also the president of the National Assembly and the MCU's executive secretary, signed the document with a ceremonial scarf featuring the president's image draped over his shoulders. Russian officials, including Ambassador Alexander Bikantov, witnessed the signing. The Russian embassy described the agreement as a step toward new horizons in cooperation which aims to deepen ties between the two parties through joint projects and legislative exchanges. However, critics of the government have raised concerns about the implications of the deal, stating that the MCU wants to mimic United Russia, sprawling, oppressive, blending with state institutions and the judiciary, and silencing any dissent. This partnership highlights the increasingly close relationship between the Central African Republic and Russia, raising questions about its impact on the country's political landscape and sovereignty. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
Now back here, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says the global health ecosystem presently emphasizes women's health as a significant investment opportunity, even as the Federal Republic of Nigeria is placing it at the forefront of the Nigeria Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative. In his remarks at a high-level panel, which included the CEO of Siemens Healthineers, UNICEF's Chief Executive Officer, and others at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Tuesday, the coordinating minister says Nigeria's newly unveiled National Health Fellows Program is designed to bring young women to the forefront of health sector leadership into the future, while prioritizing women's health as a primary national health focus to strengthen national productivity and economic growth.
For us in Nigeria, we had an ambitious agenda in terms of our health sector renewal investment initiative to start aligning and focusing our efforts towards improving population health outcomes. You can't get through that without looking at reproductive, maternal, newborn, and child health. So focusing on that, expanding our primary healthcare system, training our frontline health workers, more than 53,000 of them, thousands of primary healthcare centers revitalized, but also dealing with financial protection, because many women don't access services because they cannot afford them. Taking that barrier out, whether it's for reproductive health services, antenatal care when they come to deliver, or emergency obstetric services, we're on a path to make that free so that women who are eligible can have those services. The difference between life and death for some women is affordability of things like cesarean section, mobilizing resources to be able to do that. The innovations that have been developed, whether it's postpartum hemorrhage therapeutics, the drapes that have been developed, hematinics, multiple micro, to ensure that women get them through the retail outlets. In addition to that, ensuring the governance of the sector, the performance, accountability, and the data systems are able to track that women are being served. We have People's Perception Survey to track that, so that we're responding to the needs of the population we serve with women as part of that population. So using data to recalibrate what we're trying to do.
Now, a delegation from Nigeria led by Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kari has visited Egypt's Agricultural Research Center and the Agricultural Bank of Egypt to explore potential partnerships. The purpose of the visit was to reinforce Nigeria's commitment to collaborating with Egypt in driving agricultural transformation through research innovation and the exchange of technological advancements. During the visit, both institutions agreed to collaborate with Nigeria's Ministry of Agriculture on crop variety improvement tailored to various agroecological zones. Abubakar Kari emphasized that this partnership aims to address Nigeria's climatic challenges, enhance productivity, and strengthen food security. To this end, Nigeria and Egypt are committed to a balanced exchange of technological innovations, while Nigeria is at the forefront of various agricultural technologies. This partnership will enable both countries to share expertise, optimize processes, and jointly develop solutions to tackle common challenges. Nigeria and Saudi Arabia have renewed plans to build the capacity of their geological agencies by leveraging the breakthroughs recorded by Saudi firms in mineral exploration. Minister of Solid Minerals Development Dele Alake, who opened the talks with a proposal for both countries to collaborate on areas of economic advantage on the sidelines of the Future Minerals Forum in Riyadh, stressed that Nigeria and Saudi Arabia can form partnerships based on the sector's value chain. Using Saudi Arabia's famous gold market as an example, Alake said Nigeria's gold refineries could gain access to the Saudi market under protective clauses, guaranteeing both economic expansion opportunities. Saudi Minister of Mining, Bandar al-Karouye, assures that the government and the private sector are working together to introduce new technologies for mineral exploration that will be of benefit to other countries. Now, President Bola Tinubu has approved the funding for the successful takeoff of the Category 2 UNESCO International Media and Information Literacy Institute in Nigeria. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris made this known when he received UNESCO Feasibility Team in Abuja. Saliu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
Nigeria's pledge to establish and host the institute emerged from the 2022 UNESCO Global Media and Information Literacy Week, hosted by Nigeria in October 2022 in Abuja, and was endorsed by a resolution of the 216th session of the UNESCO Executive Board in May 2023. Members of the UNESCO Feasibility Team are here to compare notes after reviewing Nigeria's proposal on the infrastructure provided for the takeoff of the institute that will provide services to the world.
We were at the university, and so far, Honorable Minister, it has been so good from our end. All of the documents and the stakeholders we interacted with, they have been so positive.
Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris acknowledged UNESCO's desire to continue to support the country to explore its potential in developing its information and communication space.
We approached Mr. President, who has graciously not just approved what the ministry, in collaboration with the National Open University of Nigeria, is doing, but also in ensuring that every support, especially the financial, whatever support that is required, everything that we have asked of from Mr. President has been provided.
As a government image maker, he reaffirmed the government's unrelenting efforts to guarantee press freedom and restore trust and credibility to government communications.
If you are reporting anything, whether you are a citizen journalist with a phone on your hand or a laptop or whatever, and your desire is to push out information, you have to know that you have a great responsibility on your shoulder. It is either you are pushing out information that helps society to grow, to develop, or you are also pushing weapons that will help to destroy the very society that you belong to. And so we, as a country, have decided to key into the UNESCO guidelines in ensuring that information, misinformation, disinformation, and fake news are somewhat being looked at.
He called for global support in the fight against fake news. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
You're watching the news at NTA International. We now take a short break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their socio-economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, 1 person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, 1 person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary health care center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
His Eminence Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, the Sultan of Sokoto and the President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, cordially invite you to the Nigerian Quran Convention, a monumental gathering of faith, unity and inspiration under the banner of one book, one faith, one ummah. This historic event brings together Muslims from all walks of life to celebrate the timeless beauty of the Quran, fostering spirituality, understanding and unity. Join us on the 22nd of February 2025 at the Moshood Abiola Stadium, Abuja, for a day of profound reflection, togetherness and inspiration. The Nigerian Quran Convention, one book, one faith, one ummah. You're welcome.
The Federal Ministry of Livestock Development has confirmed the outbreak of anthrax in Zamfara State. Anthrax caused by the bacterium Bacillus anthracis is a zoonotic disease that can affect various warm-blooded animals such as cattle, sheep, goats, horses and wildlife, as well as humans. While anthrax is preventable through coordinated efforts such as risk assessment, surveys, and ring vaccination of susceptible animals in high-risk areas, prompt detection and response are critical to containing its spread. A statement signed by the Director of Information and Public Relations, Ben Bem Gong, states that the ministry remains committed to collaborating with all stakeholders to ensure a swift and effective response. The federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, has unveiled a 13-episode movie titled Hidden Riches to inspire Nigerians and draw investments to the potential opportunities inherent in the solid minerals sector. At the movie premiere, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Mary Ogbe, explains that the ministry intends to engage the public by using entertainment as an educational tool to shift public perception and attract investments to the sector. She says the ministry is committed to fostering innovation, creating awareness, and building capacity, being the sector to realize its full potential as a major driver of economic growth and diversification, which is part of the present administration's key agenda. Stakeholders agree that there is a need for content-driven storytelling that informs and engages audiences, focusing on value addition, increasing Nigerian participation in the mining industry, tackling illegal mining, and formalizing artisanal miners by encouraging them to form cooperatives. They, however, advocate development of transport systems, which is among challenges facing the industry, especially in riverine areas, stressing the importance of ensuring that local communities and Nigerians benefit maximally from the resources extracted in the country. The series will be aired on the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, every Saturday beginning from 25th January 2025 between 8:05 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Now, stakeholders in the anti-corruption fight in Nigeria have commended the success recorded so far and the policies and programs put in place by government. They, however, called for effective implementation and prosecution of offenders. Now, this was the takeaway at a stakeholders dialogue on UN Conversation Against Corruption organized by the Bureau of Public Service Reforms and Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. Hamad Jaban reports.
The parallel report examines Nigeria's implementation of selected articles of Chapter 2, Preventive Measures, and Chapter 5, Assets Recovery of the UNCAN. In 2009, the Conference of the State Parties to the UNCAN created the Implementation Review Mechanism to evaluate member countries' compliance with the convention, and gathered here are key stakeholders to assess how Nigeria has fared in the implementation and to fill the gaps identified.
The failure of ministries, departments and agencies of government to provide information on the efforts we are making individually as MDAs and in a group as government on the efforts that we are making. You agree with me, and the participants too will agree with us that quite a lot of efforts are being put in place.
So these are all those recommendations are easy. What usually takes time is attitudinal change. That usually takes time, as we know, and other people are growing up, so that has to come from the home, from our religious institutions, our schools, yes. But on the prevention issue, not sensitization, on blocking leakages is actually very easy.
The review has shown that while Nigerian government institutions have adopted most UNCAN norms, their practical applications need to be reversed, identify good practices and differences, and ensure effective implementation of UNCAN's provision in Nigeria.
We have everything it takes to ensure that anti-corruption laws are enforced. The agencies are all working. But the fundamental problem that we should look at and start working on with advocacy is to create awareness among Nigerians to stop celebrating established corrupt officers.
The report forwarded 22 recommendations, which include implementation strategies to enhance anti-corruption agencies' autonomy and operational capacity. Others are ensuring the adaptation of an access to information law at the subnational levels, establishment of an independent agency to monitor the implementation of the Freedom of Information Act, as well as sanction non-compliant institutions. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
General National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Zubaida Umar, has emphasized the need for all Nigerians to always stay clear of oil spillage from tanker vehicles or pipelines to avoid the continuous mass casualties occasioned by fire disaster. The NEMA boss stated this while on an on-the-spot assessment of the extent of damage of the fire disaster in Diko, Niger State. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports that the agency also deployed food and non-food items as well as medicament to families of victims.
The incessant fire disaster occasioned by oil spillage has continued to claim many lives due to the unrepentant attitude of some Nigerians who always take advantage of the spillage from accidental trucks to scoop petroleum products. The DG NEMA is saddened by the number of people that died in the recent fire disaster in Diko Junction, Niger State, and commiserated with the government and people of the state over the tragic loss. She said authorities concerned must take proactive steps to prevent further occurrence. Zubaida Umar later flagged off distribution of some food items for distribution to victims. She said the gesture is in line with the directive of President Tinubu and continuation of the federal government's commitment to offer support in the recovery of any community where disaster occurred.
Our agency will continue to work closely with state officials and other emergency responders in providing long-term recovery needs that may arise. We understand how devastating emergencies can be on families and will do everything within our power to ensure that no one is left behind in their time of need.
The DG NEMA commended the swift response of first responders to the incident, particularly the rescue team from NEMA, Niger State Emergency Management Agency, firefighters, Federal Road Safety Corps, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, medical personnel, community members, security operatives and other stakeholders that acted swiftly under pressure to save lives and mitigate further damages. In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu congratulates Festus Keyamo, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, on his 55th birthday. President Tinubu commends legal practitioner for his commitment to the administration's success and dedication to transforming Nigeria's aviation into one that is safe, efficient, and customer-focused. The president notes the progress made in the sector over the past 15 months, especially the ratification of the Cape Town Convention for Aircraft Leasing, the commencement of lectures at the African Aviation and Aerospace University, and the operationalization of the National Flight Data Center designed to enhance safety management system in the aviation ecosystem. The president wishes Keyamo many more years of good health, wisdom, and fulfillment in serving the nation. This is where we end the news. Thank you so much for being a part of it. My name is Justin Bemunyi, and my sign language interpreter has been Precious Ozemina. We say do have a good evening.